Like when someone told me my hairline was receding. I was like, I didn't notice.
Thanks for that.
Thank
That's
you
great.
so much.
Yeah, I didn't notice that I had a couple U-turns in the top of my head. You know?
Hey, Heal Squad with Maria Menounos fans. No, it's not Maria Menounos. It's Mr. Maria Menounos, subbing in for my beautiful and talented wife. And I'm bringing you part 2 of our interview with author Mark Groves in his book, Liberated Love. I'm joined by my lovely, beautiful, and talented co-host, Kelsey Alexander Meyer, as well. Little teases we have here. We need to get to a space of humility and curiosity. You lose things when you date on potential. And parents, if you're going to stay together, work on it. But if you're going to break up, work on it too. Part 2 of our interview with Mark Groves, the book Liberated Love.
It is. The body experiences inflammation from self-abandonment. So when you look at high conflict relationships, this is data that they see that there is inflammation, more leaky gut. Even in relationships where a couple's not fighting, but there is a high level of conflict, their bodies are already acting as if they're in fight, flight, freeze. So if you think about it from a physiological perspective, and really what I'm talking about is the area of science called psychoneuroimmunology. And it's this connection between the emotion and how that emotion actually impacts our bodies. Deeper work on this would be like Bruce Lipton or Joe Dispenza. Really looking at how the beliefs we have and the narratives we have about our childhood, about who we are, they are the lens through which we see the world. And so our relationships are this opportunity to heal those lenses, because most of those lenses are inherited. They're not our own. You know, there's a saying that a belief is just a thought you have over and over again until it becomes internalized. So if someone says to you, you're fat, and you're a little kid, and then you think, I'm fat, yeah. It starts to become a belief about who you are.
That's right. We see it with anything. If you keep saying the sky's pink, and everyone around you is like, sky's pink, but you start to go, well, it looks blue to me, but I guess I see a pinkish hue. Yeah.
Well, there's this really interesting study. I can't remember the name of it, but it's very famous. And they had this lineup of people looking at 3 lines on one side and 1 line on the other. And so the first 6 people in the line, I think it was 6, were actors. And then there was a test subject, and then there was a couple actors. And what they did was they would look at this 1 line on one side and 3 here, and they had to point to which one of these 3 matches this one. So the first 3 rounds they do, the actors all say the right answer. So it's like B, 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 okay, perfect. And then the 4th time, every single person before says the wrong answer for the 3 lines. So the test subject then has to deny the reality of what they see in order to maintain group membership. And
because group membership is awesome.
Exactly. You have to distort reality to maintain cohesion with these other people. And a very high percentage of people will
everyone hear that
give
with
the wrong answer.
everything you're watching on all the shorts and the videos you're watching of all the things going on in our country right now, that it's a lot of it is, it's a lot of group manipulation. Yeah. Wow.
It shows you how much humans are willing to deny what is true in order to not cause disruption, one in a group, but also emotional disruption in other people. What is very interesting, though, and gives us some hope, is that if they insert a right answer earlier, one other person who says the answer is actually B, so it goes A, B, A, this person is way more likely to give the right answer because they have someone else.
Someone who saw.
Yeah.
Wow.
So from a social risk, the risk goes down when it's not just you who might get exiled, but another person. So that's how change happens, is one person raises their voice, another person courageously does. And that's why, ultimately cancel culture is really what it's caused, is people are afraid to speak up about anything because they fear group exile, but also shaming and public crucifixion.
I heard it's a 50. So I heard some good news last week. It's a 15-year cycle. Because Kelsey's always said, Kev, it's a pendulum. I'm like, no, Kelsey, I think it's over. It's over for everything. The AI.
Everybody,
it's coming.
AI.
And it just, well, at least in my lifetime, because the younger group sees the world their way, and their perspective is how the world is, what they see is what they feel, what is now reality, and and the old guard is stuck in their ways.
Well, you used to not be able to cancel them. Now
right.
You can cancel them.
Well, I heard but it was nice to hear that. No, it's about a 15-year cycle, and somewhere in the 30s, we're gonna we'll hit the center, which was a really good feeling.
Nice. I think it's important to give context
hope, because it's like when you hear of AI, and it's like when I think of AI, if AI really, really evolves, it's not so much that I'm not worried about taking my job because I'll outwork AI. I think for hard workers, it's a great tool, but for me, it's like if you really follow through with AI, and then AI figures out that we just pollute the planet and wreck the place.
Right. All of a sudden, they're like, "How do we kill them?"
Yeah. Well, let's get rid of them. Like and leave it. Yeah, leave it give it back to the animals. Like they had their so. But it was just nice to hear some hope that he said, no.
You can feel it now. I think there's a societal shift happening. Like it is a pendulum. There's no accountability for anyone exploiting power. Now all of a sudden, let's hold everybody accountable. But there's a saying that you can have accountability without annihilation. And I think that saying is so important because it's really what healthy communities do. Like, coming back to the relational subject, it's like if someone goes through a divorce in a community, that behavior is not okay. Getting divorced is shamed within the community. That person will experience not being part of the community anymore. What that does from a social group perspective is make it so other people don't get divorced because they don't want to become like Tracy and Tom or whoever, who now, look at them, they're living some other life. No one loves them anymore, right? Like, what we see then is the group is trying to create a norm of what's acceptable. But when healthy communities exist in healthy families, and this happens through integrated human beings who've actually gone through their most shameful events and learned from them, they actually now have modeled within their own bodies a way to welcome back old parts of themselves that they were afraid to look at, which means I can now welcome back or be with an experience that someone else has. So my wife, one of my favorite things about her is that she's divorced. And that was the thing she was most ashamed of when we met. But I'm like, man, that's the thing that woke you up. That's the thing that turned you into a relational ninja. Like, I love it. It's the best thing I've ever heard. I'm so happy that you went against a system. And that, to me, depending, of course, how a divorce happens or a breakup, but when it is actually choosing yourself at the cost of belonging, I'm like, that's courage. That's someone who will tell me the truth. That's someone who is willing to stand in what's right for them and allow other people, because I remember talking to this guy who he was serving me at a breakfast place, and he had listened to my podcast and consumed my work, and he was a really great guy, and he had just gone through a breakup, and he said to me, I realized that since the relationship wasn't for me, it wasn't for her. Yeah, like, if it's not for me, it can't be for her.
Right.
And isn't that such an interesting thing that, like, we bypass this recognition that if someone is your person, the number one qualifier for that is that they want to be your person and you're their person.
Yeah.
Like, everybody can heal through anything. I have no doubt about that relationally. It's just we both have to desire, but we also have to both get to a space of humility and curiosity. I think that if we love in this kind of way, think of what's possible for the world.
Well, it's interesting because actually I wrote this down earlier and I wanted to come back to it, and it kind of goes to this. It's like, so if somebody doesn't want you, but you're like chasing them, right? And you're like, oh, but there's potential, there's total potential. I know you talk about like you lose things when you date for potential. Can you talk a little bit about that and like everything that you give up when you're dating for somebody else's, or for potential in somebody else?
Well, first off, dating for potential, but not someone who's realized any potential, is still a kid operating from a place of hope. So it's not an adult behavior. And that's not shaming. I don't mean that hierarchically. I just mean that that's what a kid does. A kid is like, I just hope you change. I hope that you become what is possible for you.
You're like, I know you can be my person.
Right, and I think you can fall in love with what is possible for someone. Like I see what's possible for Kylie, my wife, as she grows and changes, but she is already a full expression of what's potential for her right now. She's not like untapped, There's not a whole bunch waiting. Like, when people date someone for their potential, what I always say is you give up your own. Like, you're actually leaving your own center of choice in order to pursue this person. So you have to leave your own self. And that's why I was saying earlier in the pattern you're exploring, Kels, is till you can say no earlier on, then when someone good comes into your orbit, you still won't trust your yes. Because you still won't know if someone moves past through what are your boundaries and your intuition and your knowing. You still don't trust that you'll stop it. So then how can you say yes to something that you still don't trust yourself in relationship to? And so when someone dates potential, they actually are not in a state of choosing. I had this recognition in relationship 1.0 with Kylie. I was working with a somatic therapist. There are people who work on your nervous system, and I think they're an incredible tool for change. And because a lot of what's going on in the nervous system is things that we can't get to through language. Because a lot of the memories we have and the reactions we have to things are before we had language. So a lot of the woundings we experience, especially from an attachment perspective, happen when we're an infant. Like I was in the neonatal ICU for 10 days. So I was cut out of my mom. It was an emergency. And I was put in a little box, and then my mom couldn't touch me. No one could touch me. But what's the thing that a baby needs immediately? Touch. So I was working with Mark Wolin, who's an expert on inherited trauma, and he was like, wait, I need to understand your birth story. So I told him it, and he said, so you have a deep fear of being abandoned by the feminine because your first 10 days, the imprint of your life is that your mother wasn't there. And that's the most terrifying. You're like a newborn living in a freaking cage, right? Mm-hmm. And when I worked with a somatic therapist, I had this recognition that, I had held one of the conversations Kylie and I were having throughout relationship 1.0 was when we were going to have kids. And I was very clear from the beginning because I knew, I call those deal breakers. They're like things that you're not negotiable on. And mine was that I wanted to have them, and I think it was in 3 years. And then as we were getting 2 years in, we're still exploring this burning house thing, and she says, I'm not comfortable having kids in the next bit, but, I am in 2 years. And I was like, okay, I'll feel into that. And I was like, okay. And then as we got closer, she was like, I'm not comfortable having it. And I was like, no. Now I'm not negotiable on this. And I realized that people move deal breakers when they don't want to change the relationship status themselves. So she's testing me to see if I'll stand in the thing that's true for me so she doesn't have to leave. I'll leave. And ultimately that was one of the main points that brought forward a conversation we had where I said to her, look, this is what I want to create with my life. This is the family I want to create. I want to create it with you. If you don't want to create it with me, I love you. And you're free to go.
And for that reason, I'm out.
Yeah.
Right.
But what that brought forward was finally, she recognized, because I said to her, I love you if you can't do this.
Right.
And she was like, never experienced that. She'd never experienced that. I've been on the other side of that conversation. I knew what it was like to leave an engagement and just know I had to go. And I dreamt that the other person would say, if you need to go, you need to go. I'm not going to convince you. And I trust your path. And I said that to her. I trust her. It was authentic because I knew it. I was like, it must be divine. She must need to go. And when I was working with a somatic therapist, I had this recognition that I had a lot of boundaries and deal breakers, and I communicated them, and I was fully self-expressed. But I left myself in the circumstances. So I said, I want to be with someone who chooses me. This doesn't work. And here I was still in it. So I had left my body, and it became this I got sad. I started to cry because I recognized somewhere in my life I learned that it was okay to be with people who don't fully choose me. And that was a deep, I cry often when I tell that story because it's not an unprocessed grief. It's actually a beautiful recognition of what was probably one of the most powerful lessons I've ever had. And that's why when we ended the relationship, we did a closing ceremony, which I got to tell you, I remember.
Kev loved this last time, remember?
Yes. Closing ceremony for the breakup, which you didn't know was going to be a sacred pause. That's why I think it's even more powerful.
Yeah, and I would say it set the stage for the coming back together, because it really said like, hey, this relationship can end and there will always be love here. And what creates more safety than that? Like that we know that through being intentional together, we're creating a relationship that walks along each other. And we have a son now, and our intention is to raise him with the same trust in his own path and all that stuff. But there's just this deep level of choice that's honored in that. Like, our partner can leave us in any moment. That's a reality. It's not a reality we like to acknowledge. And we think that vows like till death do us part or honor and obey, etc., which I think are kind of antiquated now. But we think those vows mean you can never leave. We think a commitment to something means you never have a choice to leave it. But we already know that's bullshit, because the evidence shows that people can leave in any moment, and they might.
Right.
But what that does is it makes us take people for granted, because we think you can't leave. And then if I look at you and say you can't leave, then one, I'm probably not going to bring up anything that might disrupt our relationship, because I don't want to cause friction to break it, because then everyone will shame me, and culture, community, everyone judges people who go through breakups. But the other part is that I'm not actually recognizing the choice that you're making to be with me. So I no longer have reverence for the fact that you could pick any relationship and you pick this one. That changes how you look at the people you're in relationship with. Like, of anyone, you pick me? Wow, what could I do every day to honor that? What could you do every day to honor the choice I make in you? And I would say that, one, that's like, how do we actually be in service of the relationship? But two, that's like, how do I grow? How do I continue to how do I maintain curiosity about who you are? Because the person you married 10 years ago is not the same person. And we're often afraid of someone becoming more powerful, more expressed, more in their passions, because we're afraid they're going to move away from us. And naturally, then we try to control and cling and even turn their light down. Mm-hmm. We actually think it's a gift to not come fully alive. Like, look at all the things I gave up for us. How do you not notice? Mm. And it's like, how is that in service of the relationship? It is in service of safety. If we were taught that being too loud, too much, too anything means that you weren't safe. But as an adult, it's not in service of love. And we think it is. We think it's like this great declaration. You know, a lot of movies have taught us that.
Okay, so if we're in a relationship, and I'm thinking of a lot of the people, because we hear a lot of people on Patreon will talk about the issues they're having in their relationships, and many don't want to divorce or separate for a multitude of reasons. I mean, like, Mark, what do we, if at least the person in the relationship can get the other partner to commit to, hey, let's work at this, mm-hmm. right? We have some blind spots here. We've got some obstacles. You know, where do they start?
Well, one, I'd say read the book together.
Yeah.
So because it will walk you through. You need both people to read it. I mean, one person can read it and go through the changes.
No, I think you're right.
But you do need to.
So let me back up. I think it's the first step is it's getting to the point where we're unhappy, or we're going to separate, or we're going to divorce, but we need to work at this. So I think the other side has to commit, okay, got it. And then we're going to read Liberated Love. We're going to read the book together. So we both have an understanding, right? And then where would you say go from there?
Well, I'd say you have to actually not say we're not going to depart.
Got it.
Because that might be in service of both of you. Mm. So we're saying don't be afraid of any outcome, because that will actually make it so you don't tell the truth. So this is
when I'm thinking of the people I know who listen to this show. Because a lot of them I feel bad. I'm like, get out. It doesn't sound like this is a very good relationship. But I know a lot of them, because of society and religion and whatever the kids, I just know they're firm. So they doomed. They're firmly committed to staying in.
Well, I'll speak to
because that's what I was thinking. If they could at least get the partner to go, okay, got it. I'm gonna meet you halfway and try.
That's great if they can, but again, I understand. It's just for you listening or watching. The context is important. Maybe you depend on your partner financially.
Yeah, that's
maybe
just
you're
a lot.
afraid of the impact it's going to have on your kids. We're not bypassing any of that. Can we hold those truths? And can we actually say, if you bring forth the idea, can we work on this? And who knows the relationship dynamics, because often we pick relationships when we're in our teens or 20s that we would never pick today.
Right.
So we wake up through things like Heal Squad and we realize that actual healing actually means reclamation of who you are. And to actually step fully into healing, you have to actually accept. We have a whole chapter called Getting Right with Reality, because you can't change anything you don't acknowledge is true. So we want to acknowledge, I'm not sure I want to be in this relationship. Okay. Or I am sure I want to work it through, they're not sure. Or they don't want to. So we want to be able to present and bring forward everything that's true, and we want to be able to be with, I'm afraid this will end. Okay, I'm afraid this will end. Why? Am I afraid because legitimately I want to create something with them? Or am I afraid because I'm afraid of being alone? I'm afraid of, will I be financially safe?
I'm afraid of guilt of my children not having somebody. I'm afraid. Yeah. Yes.
And the impact of divorce that it has on children. Now, what I will say when I hear someone say that is that whether you're together or apart is separate in terms of the impact on the children. And what I mean by that is the ideal relational structure, of course, is a family, two parents that love each other with a child, and it's a safe, loving environment. The next one is two parents who are apart, who love each other and take care of each other.
And I've seen it done very well. I've seen two parents divorce who, but still hold respect for one another and their child. The one example I'm thinking of grew up amazing. They co-parented. They supported each other. They were always on the same page. So I feel I've seen it. I've seen separate parents separated and still do a great job when they're possible. Involved and on the same page. And also the other thing I offer too is, one of the problems I see, Mark, is that, we work so hard to take away all the obstacles and the pains from the children and the teenagers and the young adults, that now these poor things are thrown out into the world where a parent no longer can do that, and the world is filled with challenges and obstacles and not always getting your way and not always having pleasure, and they're just not prepared for it. So I have friends who are going through the divorce thing. I'm like, you can either be like, oh, poor little Jake who now's parents are divorced, or you can look at it as like, hey, this is a good lesson and we can learn from this, that like life isn't always going to be perfect.
Right.
It's always going to, this is going to be one of many, many challenges. Yeah, it would be nice if mom and I were together, but we're not. And so I think that, a lot of people that stay together, I don't know the answer if they're unhappy and they stay together, if that's necessarily healthy. It doesn't seem like it would be, right?
It's not. So the two other ones would be together and don't like each other, or dysfunctional, and apart and don't like each other and dysfunctional. Neither of those is better, so either stay together and work on it, or break apart and work on it. Those are the two most healthy options. And so, we have to trust, just like we have to trust from our own experience, that the experience we're having is the one we need to have. And that if we try to protect children from the truth of a divorce, for example, or we say, I'm staying together for the kids, again, that could be a negotiation we make with ourselves. But eventually, and talk to anybody whose parents stayed together for them, the kids are like, you should have got divorced. Like, you actually pretending we didn't know, we knew, you guys were brutal. Or the mother then, or the father, it's just often that dynamic happens more with the mother, of course, from a survival-based perspective, is like, I stayed together for you guys. So now there's the experience of martyrdom. And what I'm saying is, be with all possibilities, because if you say, under no circumstances can I leave, then at least you just can't entertain what is possible for you. And I'm saying you don't have to leave.
No, I like that.
We just want to bring it forward.
But keep your mind in a state of possibility.
It's true.
And then there's accountability for the other side to go, oh, well, damn, we really better work on this, because there is that possibility that.
When it teaches your kids to step into their power and their choice. So it teaches them that it's important to have a voice. It's important to express yourself. It's important to not tolerate bullshit. And That is the lesson you want to impart. Now, I want to, of course, give, qualifiers to there are always circumstances, and you're the best decider of your circumstances. But in order to navigate any change, we need to be well-resourced. So when we talk about resourcing, it's like we need to have community around us. We need to have people who can support us. Heal Squad's a great example of that. Like, think about how many people have changed their life through this container because they got a bunch of people saying, you got this.
Yeah.
And internal resources are things like having awareness about a behavior, building practices like breath work or meditation. Because what we're starting to do, and we talked about this very early in the conversation, what we're starting to do is to build space between the trigger and the response. We're starting to observe the canary instead of reacting or ignoring. We're saying, there's information here. Okay, I'm not going to do anything with it yet. So what we're starting in nervous system conversation, they would call that increasing your window of tolerance. And really, that's the space you have where your prefrontal cortex, which is the decision-making part of your brain, problem-solving part of your brain, it doesn't work when you're triggered. So we're saying you build the resources through being around people that love you and you love them and they're supportive of you unconditionally and they want what's best for you. That makes you stronger. And then on the other side, you're also building tools within, skills about relationships, skills about handling conflict. Things like seeing a therapist or a coach or a somatic therapist, what you're learning on a nervous system level is how to co-regulate. Co-regulating is that you're in conversation with someone who they're in a state of rest and digest. A lot of us are not used to that. We're used to being around people who are like, what's going on? Okay, let's do this. And people who are people pleasers have a superpower. And that superpower is a hypervigilance at first. It's like in studies, anxiously attached people can see micro changes in facial expression that they are constantly coding potentially as danger or as threat or not. And sometimes they overcode, right? So they're like, they feel insecure or unsafe, like, oh, you didn't like the potatoes. And they're like, what? I just fucking took a bite of some potatoes. But they're in a state of hypervigilance. So when that gets harnessed, because that's an incredible skill set. I'd argue that most people who go into healthcare related fields, therapy, coaching, physio, dietitians, doctors, whatever, they are good at that. And so what happens is they've built this skill to survive, but it also became a very monetizable and it became their job because they're passionate about it. Because it's aligned, they get to play out their childhood role in their adult life. And when it becomes a superpower is when your value is no longer correlated to it. When no longer is your self-worth correlated to taking care of everybody else. But it's an incredible skill. And so for people pleasers, it's the recognition that you are highly attuned. You actually understand human connection probably on a better level than 99.9% of people. And we're saying, let's harness that radar. Let's use it to liberate you. Let's build highly adult relational skills like having hard conversations. And these are skills you need to build over time. Let's be honest, like the first time I went to have a hard conversation with my girlfriend, now wife, I remember both of us laying on the bed and like neither of us could access our voices. We were like both fighting and we were like I had so many words, but they couldn't leave. And it took time to get 2 words out and then to get 10 words out. And also to get the right words out because I often got the wrong words out first. I didn't know how to use words to explain feelings because I'd never done it. So it took a trusted person, but this can happen with a therapist. It can happen with a good friend. It's great if it happens with a partner, but that's not always what's going to happen. But with Kylie, we were both kind of stumbling our way through self-expression. And, we created an environment that said, okay, like if something's coming up for her, it's coming up for me. I'm going to honor that. I'm going to learn from her. I don't always like what I learn from her, just so that,
Yeah.
It's not all peaches and cream, but...
No, but if you can, because relationships that have a positive regard for one another, but also are like, yeah, let's hear the feedback. Right. Remember to also deliver a lot of positive feedback. You actually want, in the research, you want above 5 positive interactions to every 1 negative. So actually when they look at the follow-up, a 6-year follow-up with couples, the Gottmans did this, the couples who got divorced were people who had below a 5-to-1 positive to negative ratio. And the ideal is like 7 or 8-to-1.
Well, I'm sure it makes the other person feel way more safe. It's like, here's this great thing you do, but also let's work on this.
Well, and it builds deposits to say like, hey, don't deliver 5 positive things so you can deliver a sweet hit.
Right.
But be mindful that the ways that you're connecting with your partner are not always through criticism. Because that's often a lot of people learn. Like I'll get on Instagram sometimes on an Instagram live and someone will be like, you look really tired. That's like the first thing they say. And you're like, wow, you must be in a great relationship. Because you realize, oh, this person learned that was a constructive way to connect. Like, and I mean, I'm sure we've all heard a friend or have a mother or a father who's like, oh, I don't like that shirt, or you did your hair different. Like they can't just leave it, and they think that's love because someone taught them that.
Hey.
I think they're helping you.
Yeah.
Wonderful pistachios. Being a new dad who works multiple jobs, I am forever in search of quick and healthy snacks. My saving grace during long days are actually wonderful pistachios. I kid you not. I keep my desk, glove compartments, and just about everywhere in the house stocked with so many pouches to keep me going throughout the day. Besides the fact they're absolutely delicious, and trust me, they are, Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Doesn't get any better than that, kids. Personally, I highly recommend the salt and vinegar flavor, but if you're Maria, you're going to love the sweet chili. Whatever your favorite flavor is, if you've been looking for the perfect snack, you can thank me later after you head to wonderfulpistachios.com to snag a bag for yourself.
Like when someone told me my hairline was receding. I was like, I didn't notice.
Thanks for that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I didn't notice that I had a couple U-turns in the top of my head.
By the way, shout out to Heal Squad guest Dr. Champagne, who does hair restoration here in Beverly Hills.
My buddy got that done. I gotta tell you, it looks pretty good.
Yeah, we had a whole episode. It was crazy.
Yeah, we've seen some people with
Oh, I looked at him. I hadn't seen him with hair in years, and I was like, bro, you look like a little microphone. He was like,
You look good.
he has like the sweetest little puff.
Yeah, I think being back to Liberated Love, I think it does go back to you're asking yourself why you're tolerating what you're tolerating. I think it does that answer if it's safety and then maybe you're being clued into this might not be the best, might not be the healthiest. Not that every relationship's healthy ever, maybe, but it's definitely unhealthy, maybe, right? If you're just in there for the safety.
Yeah, and it's perceived safety. It's not real safety. So that's the trick of all of it, is getting realistic and being with the truth that what you thought was safe actually required you not to feel safe within yourself. And
so if somebody feels safe because the other person is a great financial provider, and then that divorce is going to, make it so the person really isn't anymore financially provided for or safe. That seems like it would be a reality.
It is a reality. So we want to start, if it's possible, if we're in those circumstances, to try to create a side stream of income, to start to maybe do a side hustle that we're starting. So that's resourcing.
So a regular guy is, we dig the escape tunnel.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Start digging the escape tunnel.
Yeah.
You do. And what you're doing is you're resourcing. You're saying, I actually need to know that this is happening, and I have $1,500 a month or $2,500 or whatever it is that I'm going to be able to have saved away, or I have a friend who can lend me money, or I have something that's going to allow me to feel safe in my body as much as I can to exit.
I'm going to say this, Mark, and I don't know if you'll agree or disagree, but I feel that this book and this mode of thinking is not only applicable to a romantic partner, I think it's applicable to many partnerships, many relationships, including work. Because I feel like with Maria's career, my wife's career, it's been nothing but digging escape tunnels and side hustles because of the safety element of having to be in these toxic and abusive relationships for a check. And she's been, God bless Maria, she's been supporting her parents since she was 22.
Wow.
And everything, and they were not healthy. Dad, type 1 diabetes of now almost 60 years. Yeah. And mom, we lost. So it was a lot on her, but, we did, through resources, we did dig the escape tunnels and the side hustles. And as you just gave me that breakthrough, it was like, oh, wait, that's exactly what we did. And now, Marie's got Heal Squad and movie theaters, the gas pumps, and so many other projects going on that are hers, But that's what I'm saying is I think that I feel that these patterns come up in other relationships, work relationships, friendships, not just in romantic ones. And I think the book will be really, this is really helpful for me, just even in those other relationships.
It's a guidebook for all.
Yeah.
All things.
Well, because I think that codependence just bleeds into not just your romantic relationships, right?
Totally.
It takes your life.
It's a way of being, right? It's an exhausting strategy, and
life shortening.
100%, and you're constantly in a state of, like, you're never in a state of what about me? Like, imagine living from the center of yourself, that you are, Gen Z calls the main character.
Main character energy.
And it's like, we often think that we think of
Dwayne in the booth is Gen Z. Dwayne, main character energy. Is that new to you? Is that?
No, that's real. That's a thing.
That's a thing.
That's a thing.
And I think.
So can we define what main? Sorry, just to edify the boomer. So main character energy is what?
I'll add the healthy version of that. So it is the idea of, like, create a life that's for me.
Right.
And there is a qualifier to that, which is create a life that's for you that also includes a we, right? That you hold on to who you are, but you're in a relationship and you're willing. There's a difference between self-abandonment and compromise. Compromise is in service of a connection. It actually feels good, even though you're giving up something, and there might be grief around that.
Difference between abandonment and compromise.
Yeah, self-abandonment and compromise. Self-abandonment, you'll feel resentment. Wherever you have resentment, 100% of the time, 100, not 99.9, I'm not insulating anyone's feelings. 100% of the time it's because you prioritize something or someone over yourself. You forgot about you might never have thought about you, and now it's to think about you. And that's why even the question, no matter your relationship status, read the book, because even if your partner doesn't want to read the book and you're in a relationship, the question, will we be together in the end? These are still outcome-oriented questions. They're still, I'm trying to steer my life to get something. I'm saying, come fully alive and then see what you want. Because then you'll be able to choose from a place of discernment, from a place of trust. So it's like the questions, will it end, will it not, will it, again, is still,
throw it out of the courtroom.
How do I get them to stay?
Yes.
Still outside oriented. How do I get them to work it through? Outside oriented. Come fully alive. That is in service of your friendships, your relationships, your love life. And you're right. Once you build it within yourself, and then you don't tolerate it in your interpersonal relationships, not only will your relationships have to heal, because you're saying, I'm not asking you to take a shittier version of relationship. I'm asking you, I love you stepping into your power, your voice, but I also need you to honor mine.
Yeah.
No longer is this about you, this is about us, and this is about me. And I'm not going to tolerate this anymore from me, from you, from anybody. Then in your work, you can't tolerate shit either. Whoa. You're like, I can't do this.
Did you hear that, Maria? No, I mean, I'll be good. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Maria. Sorry.
That's so real, though. I love that. I'm excited for everyone to read this book.
Yeah, I am too. Just Mark's a wealth of information and so needed.
Well, I could come back on and answer questions for people once they dive into the book. We could do
you know what?
We could do a live call with everybody.
No. Patreon Heal event.
Oh, yeah.
You would be phenomenal, because that's where I see.
I think you did one back in the day.
I think we need another one.
That'd be great. If people read the book, I could come on and answer all the questions they have.
I love that.
What do they have about the book? What are they working through?
And the book is out April 16th.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Get it wherever you get your books.
Get it. Get your
books.
And I will tell you right now, whether you're in a difficult relationship, but also if you have you haven't found the right person, and want to, this is a great book just to read, to prepare and learn. I mean, this would have changed my perspective on a lot of things,
Yeah, when we broke up, we had seen everybody. We had seen therapists, coaches, all the interventions. We did everything. And now we realized that we needed to learn what we learned in order to actually be able to guide people through. Like a lot of couples who are fighting about the same things, they love each other, they really want to work through it. They don't know why they can't choose the relationship. They don't know why they keep choosing the same type of person. We're like, oh, here is the method for you to walk through that. It's so much deeper. And we just started to see all these deeper layers of codependency that are not talked in traditional models. You know, we talk about codependent hooks, which are these unconscious ways that we hook people in to keep them close. Yeah, that one is, I mean, I remember reading, there's also one on blind spots and mass. The mass, I was like, well, I've got 4 of those. The blind spots, they're powerful because we use shame as a blind spot. We use blame. I love blame. That's my favorite blind spot. And then there's a whole section on hooks that we use, like financial hooks, hooks of sexuality. So we go through all of it. And I'm not going to lie, like, I've lived this book. I wrote the book. If you read this book, you will change your life. It's not a hey, possibly. I'm like 100%. I know it.
That's what I love about you, Mark. I'm like, everything, and what we've always loved about you, everything that comes out of your mouth is like, you live and breathe it as well. And like,
how many pages of notes do I have
and
here?
Kevin and I was telling you this yesterday too, Mark, like Kevin and I have rolled our eyes at some of the people who have come in here who like, they turn it on and then off camera, it's like, what the hell just happened? It's
who is that person?
It's
right.
jarring. And you are not that.
No,
and like that's
you live
why
it.
I'm like,
you live it.
And
Yeah,
like, this
that's so
book,
great.
Like, you only say things that you really deeply believe in. Do yourself. And I've always said, I'm like, Mark is like an older brother who's yelling at me, but like because he wants the best for me. And like you want the best for everyone. So anyways, I'm just like, I'm excited for everyone to read this, and I think it's gonna change lives.
I appreciate that. And you know, I think because when I look at someone who is in a pattern that they know they're in, and you know, I have so much love for you.
I know.
Is like, can we love someone and mirror their potential to them? Like that through the love you and I share, that you're like, how could I tolerate anything less than someone who actually sees the most aligned, elevated, like I always say to everyone, and you work with me, so you know what I'm talking about. I always say to everyone who works with me in any capacity and is in a relationship with me in any way, your no is so honored. Yeah. And you never have to worry about my response to your no. I might want something different, but I will always honor your voice, because that's the most important thing. I want you to have psychological safety to fully express yourself. And if our dynamic, not just your and I's, but my dynamic or any one of our dynamics with anybody actually allows them the experience of safety, and that we need them to be fully expressed to be in service of the relationship, I think that's such a gift. Like liberated love is what the world needs. Yeah. You know?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think this is, to me, is beyond just romantic relationships, because it is what the world needs.
One quick caveat also, you'll have to come back to discuss social media with Kevin, but just plugging.
Oh my God, no, wait a second.
Instagram. So please go follow, please go subscribe on YouTube at Mark Groves, and listen to the podcast, Mark Groves Podcast.
But I didn't mean to step on you, Kelsey.
No, it's okay.
Because I forgot about this.
I know. And
this was like, we were walking in the studio and I go, wait, what?
I think Mark has to come back, because this is a whole...
But can we at least just do a little pipe?
Do it quick.
Pipe bomb?
Yeah, do it.
A pipe bomb.
So Mark is leaving social media because, fill it in.
Mark, hit it.
Well, I've been wrestling with that relationship for a long time, and you know, I've had 5 people manage my social media, and my social media is not like filled with toxic inbox messages or you know, dick pics or something like that. It's in my inbox is relatively reasonable.
Yeah, kind.
Yeah, but all 5 people, including myself, have reached an end of psychological strain. And I was like, well, this isn't my platform, because there's much worse accounts to manage. It's actually, is it possible to be in a healthy relationship with a platform, Meta more specifically, that its whole purpose is to extract attention from people? So now I want to honor that I met my wife on Instagram. I created a beautiful business. I've met lots of people. There's so many. It's not a binary. I either hate it or I love it.
But it's just yet another relationship that didn't work for you.
Exactly.
That's what was clear to me. And I said, wow, he's looking at even Instagram as his relationship with Instagram, which goes back to the safety and the codependence and everything else. And he's like, and for that reason,
I'm out.
And I think I just have such Wow.
That's how potent the book is.
Self-awareness and such power, liberated love. But that's what I keep saying. For me, the book just goes beyond, as I said, romantic relationships, even your relationship with social media. And wow, really incredible. And by the way, like, that's your relationship with social media. Other people,
exactly. It's not a projection on everyone.
No.
Although, I would say that I'm not sure it's possible long term. Like, I think we will look back at social media as being like smoking.
I've said this, so this is the Kevism that I think that when we look at people smoking in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, we're like, oh my God, how gross. And I think that 30 years from now, they'll see us all with their phones, and the kids of that generation is going to look at us and think the same way.
I think there's going to be a split. People are going to go to the singularity and get implants in their brain with technology, and there'll be a whole other group
which will be amazing
that return. Exactly. They'll be spewing out AI.
Oh my God, Dwayne, how many great movies are we going to play in our brains when we have the chip?
I'll five at once.
Let's go.
5 at once. So you don't have ADHD. You have 5 movies playing in your brain at the same time.
Dwayne, tell them
one voice per, or one movie per voice.
That's it.
That's how it works.
Dwayne, what are we thinking? You thinking Dune, the new Dune? Like,
it's
would you
pretty
go
good.
Marvel,
The new Dune.
right? Yeah,
I'd play both at the same time, and then maybe all of the movies with Keanu Reeves. What's that one called? Where he
John Wick.
The Matrix.
You could play all 4.
No, but Dwayne would do Matrix.
I would do Matrix.
By the way, Dwayne, no, wait a second. If you had the 5 chips in your brain, you could make it a John Wick's evening in your brain. Excuse me, a Keanu Reeves evening.
That's true.
So you'd have John Wick,
So cool.
you'd have Matrix, you have Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Oh my God.
You'd have the
Pirates of
football
the Caribbean.
Pirates of Keanu Reeves? No, he's not in Pirates.
Not in Pirates?
No, we would go to his
That's Johnny Depp.
We would go to, excuse me,
Come on,
we would go to
Dwayne.
one of the most underrated sports movies, certainly football
What's
movies,
that?
The Replacements.
Oh, that's a good movie. I haven't
Amazing
watched that
movie.
in
It's a
ages.
fantastic movie. So there's 4. Dwayne, we find the 5th one for our fans. We'll put it in the link for
Sure thing, yeah.
for when you upgrade. Our brains all get upgraded to 5 chips.
You're
right. We will get. I think it's going.
I think
way.
the other half of us will move to more analog lives, like back to
I know
a
it.
non-digital.
Yes. I tell all the.
I like my written letters.
I tell everyone. I know all the kids Kelsey's age. Usually, the parents have that one little summer lake house, that little cabin. If it was a little family thing, and I say, beg your parents not to sell it, because for the analog people,
Go
when
live
they're
in the
60,
cabin.
they'll all. Well, I think they'll all be there in those places.
All the Gen
for the
Zers
analog.
will be there on TikTok.
Well, then there's that.
Are you in the cabin if it's not in your story?
Good point. Fair.
Can you enjoy a cabin if everyone
you don't
else
post
doesn't
it?
know you're enjoying
it's
a
gotta
cabin?
It's got to be in your story, Kels. How are you gonna get the likes?
Yeah. My cabin doesn't really have service, so.
That's so great.
But that's what I'm saying. The
Where
analog
is this
But you know
cabin?
what's
generation.
crazy? It's like a little past Tacoma in Seattle, and it's so funny because I never
God,
understood.
I live near there.
I know you do. I mean, kind of, sort of.
I tell
Pretty
Doug,
close.
Yeah, no.
Deb and Doug, don't
No,
sell.
in Vancouver.
Oh,
Don't.
Vancouver, yeah. I mean, we used to pop up to Whistler all the time.
Well, I didn't know you had a cabin just outside
Yeah.
of Tacoma.
But
Is it
it's-
near Mount Rainier?
No, it's
It's
close. Do you know
beautiful.
where Bremerton is?
No.
It's
Is
pretty
it a
cool.
rainforest cabin?
No, like right on the like a little lake.
But
But it's lovely.
it's nature. It's calm.
But and there's
and
no
I think, by the way, if you
service.
when you wake up and choose analog when you're 60, you and Erica will be there, and your kids are going to be okay. This is where we're going to be living while the rest of the world is doing their
Our
thing.
robot children.
Yeah.
Robot.
While Dwayne and I are
She's
watching.
gonna get off technology before that. I'm gonna influence Kelsey.
I mean, here's the thing. It's like I'm not
don't use your phone very much.
Not really.
No, you don't.
Like I was saying to Mark yesterday.
Kelsey's good.
I
No,
have
she's
my
not.
text of my people who I need to respond to pinned, and everyone else I'm
No,
like,
Kelsey's
if you
not.
need me, you know where to find
I
me.
don't see Kelsey.
My
as a
phone
good-
is where texts go to die.
I mean, same.
Yeah. When my friend was like, "I'm just not good at texting," I'm like, "Just own it. You don't."
I'm a
like
streak
it. You don't have to
texter.
apologize.
Yeah.
What a streak texter.
You are like Kevin never responds, or he responds right away.
Yeah,
and it's
so
like
streak texter.
So you gotta catch you. Like if you get hit,
Yeah,
if you
and
get a reply, you keep it.
I
and that-
respond like once every couple
You
months.
send a picture of
when
a car.
But then the problem is when you respond quickly. Maria's taught me. She's like, you're training the other
Train
person to
them.
think that you respond quickly all the time, and then when you don't,
I've definitely not done that.
they freak out because what's wrong? But yeah, I mean, like this thing is a pinball machine. Like it's just too many, Anyway, all right, listen.
So write me a
The
letter.
book is Liberated. The book is Liberated Love.
Yay.
And we're so excited for Mark and his wife, Kylie. And and we're going to have him back, I'm sure, many, many times. And definitely, I think, for those of you who read the book, we need to have a Patreon.
Totally.
Oh, let's do it.
So, I don't know. Until then, you would think after all these years.
Come on. I make good choices. Come on. Be nice, people.
And be present.
This podcast and all related content published or distributed by or on behalf of Maria Menounos or mariamenounos.com is for informational purposes only and may include information that is general in nature and that is not specific to you. Any information or opinions expressed or contained herein are not intended to serve as or replace medical advice, nor to diagnose, prescribe, or treat any disease, condition, illness, or injury, and you should consult the healthcare professional of your choice regarding all matters concerning your health, including before beginning any exercise, weight loss, or healthcare program. If you have or suspect you may have a healthcare emergency, please contact a qualified healthcare professional for treatment. Any information or opinions provided by a guest expert or host featured within website or on company's podcast are their own, not those of Maria Menounos or the company. Accordingly, Maria Menounos and the company cannot be responsible for any results or consequences or actions you may take based on information or opinions.